Hello, everybody. Grace chatting here again. And this is the second video in a series of 4 about living with an alcoholic. In the first one, I told you what I've learned in the 12 years since I made my original How to Survive Living with an Alcoholic video. If you haven't seen that one, you might want to have a look at it. Um, uh, you know, you don't need to have seen either of the other videos before, because this is a standalone. So today in this video, I want to answer the question that hurts more than any other, and I want to answer it properly. And the question is, why don't you just leave? Now, you've probably heard that. It's probably been said to you maybe by your sister or your best friend or someone at work or maybe even a medical person. That question, why don't you just leave? And it's not only other people that are asking that question, it's the kind of question you ask yourself when you're lying awake at 3 o'clock in the morning, losing another night's sleep because you're not sure what's going to happen when you hear the key in the door. Why don't I just leave? What's wrong with me? Well, it's not that simple. You know that. I'm here to tell you that nothing's wrong with you, nothing at all. There are real physical and scientific reasons why leaving feels impossible. Reasons that have got nothing to do with weakness on your part, and it's got everything to do with how human brains and bodies and human beings operate. And once you understand, I hope you'll never speak to yourself in quite that harsh way again. So let's just unpack this. Let me ask you something. Why do people sit for hours at slot machines? Like they're all over the country. People, even as you watch this, as I speak, people are sat at slot machines and have been at the slot machines for hours, putting their hard-earned money, or I don't know, whatever money they've got, just putting it in, one coin after the other, and they keep doing it. And the machine takes their money 9 times out of 10, and any sensible person would walk away. But people don't, because every so often, at a moment that nobody can predict, the lights all flash and the coins come pouring out and they hit the jackpot. So scientists have studied this for decades, and the findings are rock solid. Rewards that come unpredictably and grip us, they do grip us far more powerfully than rewards that come reliably. So your brain releases a chemical called dopamine, the maybe this time chemical, and it releases far more of it when the reward is uncertain than when it's guaranteed. So, you know, you've all seen, even if it was only in the movies, people who are kind of addicted to gambling and losing their money, always in the hope of when they hit the jackpot. And yes, they win some, but then they often and mostly lose more. So now think about your life with the drinker in your life. When things are nice, it's very nice. And when things are horrible, it's horrible. But you never know which one's going to turn up. You never know, the lovely evening when he's warm and funny and himself and he's the man that you fell in love with. You never know when that's going to arrive out of nowhere. And that can be after weeks of misery. And it's almost sometimes like they kind of get a sniff of when you're reaching breaking point or leaving point, and suddenly, you know, there's an apology, and it sounds real. So it's a bit like the slot machine, and your brain responds exactly the same way it responds to a slot machine. And that's not because you're foolish, but because of your physiology. If someone was horrible all the time, it would be easy to leave. It's the good times dropped in unpredictably that hold you. You know, this has been studied by a chap called Biderman, studied it with prisoners of war, that where they were consistently ill treated, people adapted and kind of, didn't have a breakdown, where it was where there was intermittent reinforcement is the clinical name for this, intermittent reinforcement, when the guards, the prison guards, would sometimes be kind or would speak to them nicely, or maybe give them a bit of extra food, or maybe even a smile. They'd drop their guard, and that might last for a few days, but they never knew how long it was going to last. And then they'd be back to harsh treatment again. And it's the intermittent nature of it that actually breaks their spirit. And that's a science that was studied, how to break the spirit of prisoners of war. And it's the same physiology. So, in relationships, we call it trauma bond. So it's known as, it can feel like love in an intimate relationship, but the name for it, those cycles of intermittent reinforcement over months and years, it's called a trauma bond, and it's what forms when fear and relief happen over and over with the same person. And the person who frightens you, when they're also the person who can comfort you afterwards. Terror, then tenderness. Danger, then rescue. Round and round. And when that's going on for years, you become entrained to it. And each time you go round the loop, your body pours out very powerful chemicals, the stress chemicals, the cortisol, during the fear. And then when they're being nice and kind or caring, warm bonding chemicals, like dopamine or oxytocin. And that chemistry, it's a cocktail, and it's the same kind of chemicals that bond babies and their mothers. Nature designed it to glue people together, and it works. It definitely works. And when the person it's gluing you to is a source of danger, that's why the bond to an alcoholic partner can feel stronger than any love that you've known. But it isn't stronger love. It isn't actually love. It's stronger chemistry. Just let that land. It's chemistry. And it's a cycle. And it's an addictive cycle. And I want you to hear the difference because it matters. You're not staying really because you love too much. You think it's love. You're staying in part because your body has been through a process that wasn't chosen by you. It's a process that you find yourself in. And, that constant walking on eggshells, the constant unpredictability, the constant intermittent reinforcement, it's addictive. So there's a third piece, and it explains why you can't seem to think your way out of it. When you've been walking on eggshells for years, reading his face the moment he walks in to see if you can see, what his intentions are, listening to how the car door closes, listening to how quickly or slowly he walks up the driveway. Your body has learned to stay on guard all of the time. And scientists call it, well, it's called hypervigilance. You're just constantly on high alert. So your amygdala, that part of your brain that's like a smoke detector or a danger detector, it's on overdrive. Um, and, you know, you finish up never able to relax. So when you're living on guard like that, it floods your system with stress chemicals day after day after day. And here's what most people don't know. These chemicals are brilliant for surviving, um, the next hour, or it's terrible for planning for the next year. When your body believes it's in danger, it quietens down your prefrontal cortex, your thinking brain kind of is offline, and everything's handed over to the amygdala, which is all about survival and what's going to get you through tonight. So when people say, oh, why don't you just leave? Leaving is a plan. It needs clear thinking. It needs money, it needs housing, it needs courage, and it needs that to be held steady over months. And you are being asked to do all of that with a brain that is spending every ounce of its fuel on getting through tonight. That's not weakness, that's arithmetic. So I want to warn you about something. And I want you to remember it because it may protect you one day. The most dangerous moment, the moment women lose years, it's not the awful night. The awful night's bad enough. It's the morning after the awful night when there's the apology, there's the I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. It won't happen again. I promise you it won't happen again. Things will be different. It's because of this, it's because of that. I didn't mean it. You know I didn't mean it. But remember your chemistry. After great fear or alarm comes great relief. And the relief just floods your system with those warm bonding chemicals, the oxytocin, the dopamine, and hope comes rushing in on that tide. So this time it'll be different. Oh, he's seen it all now. He means it. You want to believe it. You really want to believe that. And I'm not telling you that he doesn't mean it in that moment. He may well mean it in that moment because he's got his own demons going on. I'm telling you that this is the moment your body is least able to see clearly because your body is drunk on the relief of your physiology. And decisions made in the remorse phase nearly always favor staying. If ever you make the big decision, make it in calm water, not in the sweet, exhausted peace after a storm. So I'm just, the experience of quite a few of the women in the Rebuild Your Life group. Well, let's just pick one. Let's say it's Anne, which is not one of them, but let's just say it is. She found the videos like you have, and she watched them for hours. And then she watched them over and over, and she read the books and watched all the videos all in one sitting and watched them again and again. And it was after 2 years of watching and reading and knowing and staying. And she used to call herself stupid for that. And you may have watched them before and you're watching them again. And she used to call herself stupid. But she doesn't anymore because those 2 years weren't failure. And if you've done that, it's not failure. That's your brain slowly loosening its own knots. Every video, every page of the book that you read, when the moment came, you realize that video watching and that reading and that gradual understanding was undoing some of the knots. And it gets you to a point where then you are ready to move. And Anne has told this story, that she watched them for 2 years and then she was ready to go. So understanding comes first. Understanding the intermittent reinforcement, understanding the addictive nature of that. And it's not about weakness, it's not about failure. It's about trauma bonding and intermittent reinforcement. So let me just gather that all up for you. You're not weak, you're not stupid, you're not addicted to drama, you're a human being whose brain and body responded exactly the way human brains and bodies respond to unpredictable reward, to fear and relief, to fear and relief, to years of living on guard. Any person put through the same process would feel what you feel. So here's the hope in the science. Everything that was learned can be unlearned. And that's for sure. Brains that were trained by chaos can be retrained by safety. And it happens through small steps. Information, support, moments of calm, other women who understand, who get you. And that's why I always say, get informed, get support, and get a life. It isn't a slogan, it's a treatment plan. So if tonight is your 2 a.m. night, there's 3 doorways in the description below. The first is our free support group, the Reclaim Your Life group, where there's nearly 600 people there. They've lived it, and you don't have to say a word, just turn up. The second is to read the book, Women Who Love Too Much. Loved, past tense, where everything in this video is explained fully and gently, chapter by chapter. And the third is the next video in this series, where I'll tell you a kinder truth about that word you may have had thrown at you, codependent. It's not a character flaw that you've been led to believe. So pass this video on to anybody who needs it. You're not mad, you're not weak, and you're not alone. So what's happening to you has a name, and it has a science, and it has a way out. So I watch women walk out of it every month. So thanks for listening, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video or see you in one of the groups. Bye for now. Bye.